Hi there, this is Tom Sabantry for another round of the Premium Prime podcast. Thanks for joining me. I'm really excited about this episode. Just got back from a tremendous conference that I got to hang out with a lot of old friends and meet some new ones and just get re-energized. Oftentimes we can be reluctant to go to events and conferences just because I know it takes time and it requires some travel and some inconveniences. But what I have always come to realize is these things are just super energizing, gets your mind and body revved up, and just always great to learn and be around others that are of like mind. And so this was a tremendous event. It was in Salt Lake City, which I've never been to that city before. And so it was interesting just to explore the town a bit, get to learn a little bit more about the culture. And so it was great. It was a great trip. Wasn't very long, but it was still very rewarding, insightful from the short window I was there. So today, what I really wanted to just cover was just some key insights and takeaways I got from the conference that hopefully will help you think about your finances for sure, but even broader than that, just in life in general, how to potentially enhance what's going on and hopefully give you something to consider and think about. So one of the big things, and obviously when you're talking about spending time getting educated, hopefully you're getting that mindset of learning, right? Being open. Obviously, if you're not open to any of to learning, it pretty much is going to be counterproductive and certainly a waste of time. So what was one of the main themes of the conference and a lot of the exercises and things we did in the workshops were centered around really expanding our minds a bit. We can always, and I am guilty of this just like anyone else, is staying in my lane of what I know and believe. And again, to habits. And some of those habits are good to have, right? Exercise every day or drink a lot of water. So these things are good. But, oftentimes we need to push ourselves and get ourselves out of that comfort zone to expand and see what possibilities are out there because we can easily be blind to them all. And so bringing together people from different experiences, backgrounds, parts of the country, and get them together, help sort of tackle problems and assess a situation. It's amazing the types of outcomes it produced to expand our minds, expand our willingness to see things differently. And it was just amazing because there's so many more possibilities that came out of some of the problems that we were tackling that I would never have gotten there myself personally. So it's something that I think we all need to do on occasion, maybe on a weekly basis to kind of spend some time with ourselves or maybe with others, brainstorm creative ways of doing things, right? Whether it's in our businesses, our jobs, our life, to help push us to stay out of just kind of being on this sort of robotic sort of process during the week and get us off our game. Now, obviously, there's going to be points of time in our days and our weeks. We want to have that structure to stay focused and get things done, but also offer time for us to sit back and actually push ourselves to be creative. What could we do differently? What are some new ideas to enhance things we do in our work, our business, in our family lives? This will help us grow and mature and see possibilities we would never even sort of entertain before. So really something really a good reinforcement to me. And certainly I continue to push that in my practice in my life to help expand what are other things that I could be doing or considering or at least trying that can enhance what I'm doing so I can get the things I want more, right, out of life. So just really a nice opening for the conference and really something as a good reminder for myself to don't get into a rut and continue to push, grow, learn, and get uncomfortable because that's where growth will evolve. And I think that's part of a fulfilling life. So one of the second pieces, which was, I think, a big takeaway for me, it's a good reminder too of leverage. And some people don't like the word leverage because maybe it's associated with debt or something negative, but leverage to me is a necessary thing to improve what we're doing. Right? We're going to have to leverage our time very efficiently. We have to leverage resources, whether it's our own personal resources or skills and talents, or leverage others who are more passionate, have more knowledge in a certain area, and be opening to leverage and collaborating with them and leveraging processes. I know we talked about creativity, but But we also need processes in our lives, like so we can rely on them and make things easier and simpler and more efficient. And so obviously the more we get into these podcasts, the thing that I'm going to always stress is time. We have such limited time that I don't want to waste any of it. And that is leveraging our time most effectively and focusing on the things that absolutely matter the most to improve what we're doing with our work, business, family life, you name it, but ensuring that our time isn't being wasted. And it's not to say that we can't just have some time to really do whatever we want. That's a good use of time, right? We all need to decompress and de-stress, right? But to allocate the time to do that and leverage our time so that we can be the best in whatever situation we want to be in. And don't be shy to leverage other people's skill sets and knowledge base. The more I live on this earth, the more I recognize what I don't know. And it's way more than what I do know. And so understanding that there are many people out there that want to collaborate and work with you, help, and be open to that because that will only prove what you're doing and give you better skills to help others. And so being open to that and be humbled enough to know that, hey, maybe my point of view is not complete all the time, and I need somebody's other opinion to get it. And then lastly, the processes and frameworks, having something to rely on in our lives to help us guide us in building good habits and daily and sort of weekly rituals that help us stay grounded, and use them in a way that isn't going to take massive amounts of energy and time to do all the time, right? You wouldn't want to learn how to brush your teeth all the time, right? Over and over again. So having things that are basic at work, but always being open, as I say in the front end of this podcast, is to be open to new ways of doing things. Now, a third area that kind of came out, which to me really was centered on business creation, was focused on how can you give more than you get. We get into society here that people feel maybe entitled. We get things, we're so focused on getting things, consuming things, and doing things fast, right? That's really the mantra, what we've kind of grown up in our society now, that we want that get rich scheme. We want something done faster. I can't get it fast enough from Amazon Prime, whatever the situation is. But sometimes things take a while. And, as it relates to business, relationships, or whatever it is that you're trying to prove, think about giving first. What could you do to give more value, more passion, more time to others? And the more you do that, the more value you add in their lives, the likelihood is they're going to want to help you and give you what you want in life, right? It's just a normal way people think about reciprocity and wanting to help each other, and it feels good. Imagine the times when one piece of advice it's always resonating with me is when you're feeling like crap, go help somebody or do something good for somebody. Reflect off of what you're thinking so you can sort of help somebody out, and it removes some of the negative thoughts. It certainly does for me. And so this was a good reminder of Zig Ziglar, and his quote was, if you help enough people get what they want, you will get what you want. And so this is just that giving sort of mentality first. Give first and whatever it is you're doing in your world, and you're likely the universe is going to give you what you want truly out of life. And it was a really good reminder in the world of the learning in this conference to do that. How do we focus on helping, say, our clients and others around us more? And by default, things will happen for us. We're not going to say we're expecting them or demand them, but the universe works in this crazy way. And then sometimes it will happen. And as long as you focus on the right things, the likelihood it will increase your chances of getting what you want in life. Now, the last one is a little bit to take this how you want it. For me, it was a very touching and emotional portion of the conference. And there was a gentleman that was talking about death. And, certainly that's not a topic that many people want to talk about. They probably actually would rather talk about than personal finances. But as it relates to death, he mentioned a quote that says, you die twice in your life. When you physically depart this earth, and unfortunately the reality is we will part at some point this earth, we just don't know when. That's the first time you die. The second time you die is when the last person speaks your name. And it really hit home for me. Certainly, what is certainly very important to me is thinking long term and the impact I'm going to have or on family and those around me, and sort of creating some level of legacy for my family. But really hit home. And ironically, I went to go have breakfast at Denny's the next morning with a colleague of mine, and I'm just overhearing this conversation with a waitress and her customer, and she was just beaming in her eyes. And she said, "This is the day my sister died. And every day, every year on this day, I celebrate her. I call out her name and I know she stays alive. And this is exactly how she keeps her alive." And I was just blown back by it. It was just, and maybe it's one of those things where you see the passing car, you're thinking about a certain car and they're all over the place. And it's just my reticular activating system was on high alert, but it was just something, it was just a very emotional tug for me and touching from her, from this woman. And that I obviously didn't know, but she beaming, just thinking about her sister and that she will never die because while she's alive, she can speak her name and keep her legacy alive. And it really was a super touching moment in just the simplest setting. And it was just amazing. So, so this is where for you and others who are maybe thinking about legacy and impact that you want to have, what are those things that you're doing to maybe help bring more value and impact to those around you? And what would you want for your legacy to be down the road, from the wealth that you provide to others to charitable organizations that you want to impact, or how you want your children and grandchildren to even talk about you? These are all things to think about because we don't know what that will be. And we have that control to help at least guide it and do the things while we're on this earth to impact that, if that matters to us. So just some food for thought. And it's something that, just like anything else, is not maybe the most the happiest thing to always think about. For me, it's actually really exciting to think about because it pushes me to say, take action, do things today that potentially will impact, because I don't know what the next day will bring. I don't know what the next week will be. I hope I'm here and I likely will be here, but I never know. And so each day matters, and it gets back to leveraging our time on a daily basis for intent, for goodness, and for things that matter to you. And that's the message I want to leave with you today. I mean, these are all somewhat random sort of topics, but they all connect in a lot of ways because it forces us to really hyper focus on what matters for us personally in our growth, in our impact on this earth, and certainly translates into what we do on a daily basis and how we manage our health, our family relationships, and certainly our finances, is which is so key in having those resources to have the time and money freedom we all want. So hopefully this was helpful. Certainly reach out if you ever want to chat about these things, and leave some comments on kind of what you took away from this podcast, because really these are topics that are certainly near and dear to my heart, and would love to hear what you thought about them. And is there other topics and things you can hear about? Thanks again, and join me for our next episode of the Radio Pride Podcast.